What it do, Tiger Toes crew? Today is the last episode of the Tiger Toes podcast. We've been doing this for 2 years, and I've been more than grateful to have many guests on. In today's episode, Mr. Jenkins.
Well, I'm glad to be here, Leland, and I've been looking forward to this interview, and I've heard lots about the program, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Would you like to be called Mr. Jenkins or Arnold?
Oh, no, Mr. Jenkins is fine. I wanted to be like Arnold, but as I grew older, forget about that. Now it's just Mr. Jenkins.
I think Mr. Jenkins is
Mr. Jenkins will do fine.
That's a tough name. Mr. Jenkins on the block. You better watch out there. So this is your last year teaching.
It's my last year. I've been teaching now for 35 years, 31 years in Tennessee. I spent 4 years at Marion County, 27 years in Polk County. Then I came here starting in 2022, and this will be my 35th year in education. So I'm gonna tap out, as they say. 47 years of work altogether, but 35 years of teaching. So it's time to hang up the hat, as they say.
So you've been here as long as we've been here.
That's right. So you guys who are seniors, if you're going to go, I'm going to go.
So we've both been here since August 22.
That's right. So it's kind of it's a good time to go. They say it's different times of your life, different seasons, and this is the season for me to move on to retirement, and I'm happy for it. And I've had a great experience here, and I'm thankful for my time at Ridgeland High School. I'm thankful for those teachers and students, of course, I've met and had good relationships with, and so I'm just appreciative of all of it.
So you said you've taught in Tennessee schools and Georgia schools. Is there a difference?
There's a slight difference. You know, everything has its particulars, you know, but one of the first things that when I first came here, I even told Miss Hughes, who was the principal at that time when I was first hired here, was how very similar it was. They used some of the same language, some of the same textbooks, computer systems. There was more in common than what there was different. So even though each state has its own separate Department of Education, there's so much that comes down from the federal level of government. And of course, there's a lot of times it's things are similar just because there's the concept of best practices. And so what goes on in Tennessee is a whole lot what goes on in Georgia. So there's even though there's some differences, there's more similarities than there are differences.
I've always wondered that. Last year, which was my junior year,
right,
you were out for a minute.
I was for a little while. Yeah, I had that. If you're talking about maybe the motorcycle wreck I had.
Yes.
Oh yeah, in March of last year, I had a motorcycle wreck on a dirt bike. I was at a friend's house of mine. The week before, I was actually riding a wheelie on that dirt bike, which is something I probably shouldn't have been doing as a 61-year-old last year.
You like doing a wheelie?
Rider wheelie on the back tire, 61 years old. Anyways, I could still do it at that time. But anyways, a week later, I came back, and a different dirt bike, and they wanted to film me riding it for whatever reason. And I was just riding in the grass, no problems, not doing anything too foolish. But made a mistake. I hit the front brake instead of the back brake. I know better to do that, but I did it anyways. And the grass was wet, and the front tire went sideways on me, and I crashed to the ground. Really minor wreck, kind of no big deal. But the problem was 61 years old, overweight, and so I hit hard as a 61-year-old. So what did it do? I broke 3 ribs. I separated my shoulder from its joint. It collapsed a top portion of my right lung, and a major rotator cuff. So I'd let the ribs heal a little bit and swelling go down from that. And then in April, I had a surgery on my rotator cuff from that. And so that was, it's been exactly a year now. It's been 12 months since that surgery.
Yeah.
Still hurts, still painful. They say that rotator cuff surgery is one of the toughest to actually to deal with the pains and stuff. I didn't know that before, but rotator cuff surgery is no small thing to recuperate from.
Would you say that's true?
I would say it's true. I didn't realize it was going to be that tough, but I mean, it's not painful. It's just aggravating. It's still the swelling's gone down, but and my movements is good, but the stiffness is still there a little bit. So they say it takes a full 12 months. Well, it's been 12 months for me, and it's still a thing. So maybe it'll be 15 months for me, maybe 18. Who knows?
How about your arms there?
Well, yeah, the arm. I've got a major rip up this arm. This came from my heart surgery that I had on June 30th of last year. This was something I've been watching for quite some time. About 10 years ago, I was in Dublin, Ireland, as just a vacation with my daughter and my wife, and I was at a restaurant, and out of nowhere I passed out. Out of absolute nowhere I passed out, just for a couple of seconds. I blacked out, and I came to, still a little dizzy, disoriented. I left the restaurant, went back to the hotel, was doing fine, and finished the trip. But when I came back home, I went to a doctor and ended up sending me to a cardiologist. Found out that I had an aneurysm in my aorta coming right out of the heart. And so they measured it and said, you got to watch it, see if it gets bigger and bigger. And so the last 10 years I've been watching that aneurysm. And the thinking is if it doesn't grow too much, you may just live with it. But if it gets too big, I'm going to have to do a surgery on it. And well, last year it started getting bigger. And so a decision was made to operate on that aneurysm. And so this had nothing to do with my motorcycle wreck and the problems associated with it. But so I recovered from or partly recovered from the shoulder surgery. But then in June, during the summer, I had that open heart surgery. And in the process of getting ready for that surgery, also I found out I needed 5 bypasses. And I found out that my aortic valve was leaking a little bit as well. So the doctor at Memorial Hospital was able to do a valve sparing procedure on it, fix the 5 bypasses, and totally cut out a portion of my aorta and put in a type of sleeve in there. So major surgery, 9-hour surgery. A lot of open heart surgeries are about 5 hours, 9-hour surgery. Typical stay in a hospital after heart surgery is about 4 or 5 days. I was in there for 17 days, so tough times. But overcame it, came back to school, had to use a few sick days when we came back. And so I missed the first 8 days of school when we came back this year. But very fortunate to come back and still recovering from that, but still doing good, walking a couple of miles most days. And just lucky to be here and feel fortunate. And so it just makes you appreciate the normalcies of life sometimes and just trying to get better every single day. And I am, so it's good news.
And we're glad to have you back, of course.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Do you have any plans after you leave?
I do. I'm going to, first off, I've made a joking commitment. I don't know if I want to keep this or not, but I'm going to make a commitment that I'm not going to wake up until 10 o'clock every morning. Now, how true that will be, how accurate, I'll keep that hope, I don't know. But for 47 years, I've been getting up early every morning to come to school or to work, and dadgummit, it's time to sleep.
You need some time to sleep.
I'm going to sleep in for a while.
That sounds nice.
When I think about my time in school, I have been coming to schools since I was 4 years old in 1967. So here we are in 2026. I've been coming to school as a student or as a teacher for 49 years. Oh, actually, 59 years.
Yeah.
Of course, now some of the years I worked in some factories. So 59 minus a few years. I've been in and out of schools for a lot of time. It's time to sleep in a little bit, I think.
Yeah. Do you have any big plans, any trips? How
Well,
about the Japan trip?
Well, I was planning to go to Japan, and then I had this major heart surgery. So 2 places in particular I do plan on going to, and that is Japan and London. Those are kind of 2 on my bucket list I want to go to as soon as I can. It's all about money, of course, saving for those things. And so the heart surgery's throwing me back, and the shoulder surgery. Then, of course, I had a 3rd surgery on my elbow. So I had 3 surgeries last year altogether. But I'm going to take some trips. I hope to go to Japan. I want to go to Japan because culture there's quite a bit different than European culture, and so I want to go there to experience a different culture quite a bit. And then, even though I've been to Europe a few times, I've never been to London.
Really?
So I want to go to London and see all the sights. And
is there a specific site you want to see in London?
well, obviously Buckingham Palace and Windsor Palace and those, but outside of those, nothing in particular. Uh, One thing I like doing when I go to cities outside of our country is not just to experience the big historic sites and the sites everybody wants to go see, but I sometimes I just like watching people on the street. I'm a people watcher. I just like to enjoy seeing how they interact with each other and seeing if it's different than the way we interact and try to appreciate the similarities and, of course, also appreciate the differences in various cultures. So it's one of the reasons I want to go to Japan is to
see what they do differently.
see what they do differently. Yeah, because so many things the Europeans do, we as Americans do as well. Not exact, of course, but it's more alike than it is different. Just like Tennessee schools are very similar to Georgia schools. Are there some differences? Of course, but a lot of similarities. So I want to go to Japan to experience some of those differences.
What are some of the differences what is the major differences you've seen in Europe that's different from here?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, geez. When I was in Greece back in 2005, they seemed to be a little bit more relaxed in their day-to-day comings and goings. Whereas we watch our clocks all the time, we watch our watches, we're very focused on being on time, a little bit more relaxed. When I was in Greece, I was there for 10 days on the island of Rhodes. I never ate a meal out inside a restaurant or inside a house. All meals were outside for 10 days. And because nice climate, of course. And when I was on Rhodes, a lot of clean eating. I noticed when they had salads, it was three things on all the salads I had was tomatoes, onions, and cucumbers. That was the salad. No lettuce, no mushrooms, no black olives, no salad dressing. It was just tomatoes.
Just the raw materials there.
Yeah, just those three. And but I think just a little bit more relaxed there. So when I was in Paris one year, it was a tremendous trip. Probably the best trip I've ever had is in terms of really enjoying what I saw. Because Paris is the fashion capital of the world. It just seemed like everybody there was dressed up. Even the children that was with their moms or walking the streets, they were dressed up. And I tell a story. I saw one guy. He was, I don't know if he was homeless. He seemed to be homeless as best as I could tell. He even had a jacket on. He had a tie on. He had dress shoes on. Now, they were all kind of worn out looking, slightly dirty. But he still had a dress jacket and a tie on, and it's like, are you kidding me? And he was laid down on the street. One time there was a place where the subway was under us, and there was a grate over the subway, and there he was trying to get warm, and there he was all decked out in his nice shoes and jacket.
So even they had on some nice clothes.
Even they had on some nice clothes. The people on the streets did. So that was interesting.
Word on the streets is you took over a bus.
Oh, geez. Well, yeah, I did take over a full city bus in the streets of Paris, France. This was in, I think, 2008, if I'm not mistaken. First night in Paris, we wanted to go see the Eiffel Tower, and so we did. And so we took a bus over to the Eiffel Tower, and it was the last stop on that bus route. And the driver of the bus said, hey, would you like to have a picture of you driving the bus? I thought it was a very peculiar question for me, and I said, well, sure. And so he said, would you want a picture of you driving the bus or with you behind the wheel? I said, well, sure. So I gave him my camera, and I was thinking to myself, well, this is kind of strange. He's got my camera. He's probably just going to run away and steal my camera. And I'm thinking, well, if he's got my camera, that's okay. I got his bus.
So he ain't going nowhere.
He's not going anywhere. But it all worked out. I've got the picture of me behind the wheel in the bus, and he gave me my camera back. So I don't know why he said that or did that, but there I am behind the wheel of a fully functional Paris city bus. It's kind of odd, but it's kind of a neat little thing to do. But it was very strange. It was. That's my first experience in Paris. It was right there at the last stop there, right there where the Eiffel Tower was. But that was quite something to see itself.
How's driving? Is the driving different from what we have here in America?
Well, in some countries, they drive on the other side of the road. So, like when I was in Ireland one year, we were driving on the left-hand side of the road, and so that was a little different. And it took a while to get accustomed to that. I don't know, because I was there for like about 8 days in Ireland. So I don't know if I ever got accustomed to it, but I got where I felt reasonably safe. But in other places, I didn't drive too much. But in Ireland, I rented a car for a full week. But when I was in Germany, I didn't have a car. In Greece, I actually did have a car. I had a little Fiat Punto, a little bitty car, stick shift, and oh geez, it was a small car. But I got into it okay, and I managed. I forgot about that, driving that car for a week. It was actually 10 days. I was driving there for 10 days. But it was okay. But in some of the cities, you can get in some of those roundabouts, and buddy, they seem to be willing to put their cars right up against other cars a little bit closer than what we're accustomed to.
Yeah.
So, we're kind of thinking like in parking lots, you kind of have a little space between your car and their car. Ah, geez, theirs are like inches apart, and so it's a little different.
Can you name all the countries you've been to?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Now I've not been to very many. I mean, I've been to a few times, a few places, but I mean, Canada, Mexico, of course. Then of course Ireland, Italy, Greece, Germany, France, Turkey. I think that might be.
Have you been anywhere in Asia yet?
No, but when I go to Japan, I'll mark out.
You seem to have a good list of places there. That's
well.
pretty cool.
I want to do Japan. I want to do London, of course, Great Britain, and my wife wants to go to Alaska. So we'll be going to Alaska sometime in the upcoming months or years.
You told me that you get a haircut in every place you visit.
I do.
How does that work for you? Why is that? Why is that?
It's a quirky thing. Anybody knows me knows I'm a little quirky. It's just a silly, fun thing I do. I don't know where I started it from, but I've got pictures of me getting a haircut in Mexico. I've got a picture of me getting a haircut in Paris, France. I've got one of me in Dublin, Ireland. I've got one in Greece, and it's just kind of a weird thing. Of course, I've got haircuts of me in places like Seattle, Washington, Boston, Massachusetts, and I don't know. It's just a silly thing, and for no particular reason. But what I found interesting was, because it's the same hairstyle I've had since I was in the 4th grade. It's a real simple cut, part down the middle and comb to the side. But when the haircut I got in Mexico was $5, but the haircut I got in Paris cost me $55. Same haircut, same quality of cut, one $5, one $55. So every country has its own little currency there, and so at least Mexico, of course, the peso. Europe, of course, they use the euro, of course, but I got a haircut in a few different places. And I'm going to continue that on, just for silliness. No other good reason.
You can't stop now. You're already.
No,
yeah,
I'm not going to stop it now.
Which, out of all those places, which one was the most unique place that you've had your haircut at?
Dublin. It was down in a basement of a building. I go down there, and because people in Ireland drink a lot. They drink a lot of alcohol. Everybody knows me, knows that I don't drink at all, none. And but I'm down there, and I'm waiting in line to get a haircut. And while I'm waiting in line to get a haircut, they offer me to have a alcoholic beverage. And of course, I said no, but I'll take a Diet Coke. And so they brought me out a Diet Coke, and that was kind of odd. They're drinking their beers, and I'm drinking my Diet Coke. So that was kind of odd by itself, but different cultures, different. One of the reasons to go to different places is to see how they live their lives.
So you teach history. You're a history teacher.
I am.
Finances as well.
Yeah, I'm a social studies teacher, which includes all the histories, and also I'm certified in geography, government, economics. Sociology. Here, my first couple of years, I was doing more with world history, but being also certified in economics and government, I've been pulled into some of those classes as well. And part of economics class now, as the state of Georgia has done, so has the state of Tennessee done, they want students to leave high school with knowing some personal finance. So going back to that comment about how much difference there is between Georgia and Tennessee. Both states have said, as part of their economics class, let's have a unit in there about personal finance. And so therefore, I teach that as well at Ridgeland.
You like history, though.
Oh, I love it. History.
So as a history teacher, what is your favorite to teach?
Oh, that's a good one because I like so many different time periods. But if I was forced to pick one, I'd probably say the American colonial era, before we became a country, going from 1607 up through the beginnings of the Revolutionary period, early 1770s. I like the story of the Pilgrims so much. I like the story of Jamestown. And I love the story of Jamestown being the first successful British colony, 1607. But then 13 years later, we have the Plymouth Plantation being started in 1620. And so I try to tie those in, even in my economics class, where we do, with Jamestown of 1607, so much of that was started for commercial enterprise purposes. And so there we are today, having the largest GDP in the world. And we could see that from Jamestown, the Virginia Joint Stock Company. And I try to make a connection between that and American success in the stock market. So we could see that in the very beginnings of American history, we see America, we see a corporate America even having this place right there at the very beginning of our country. Same time, 13 years later, what do we see? We see the Pilgrims coming over and settling Jamestown, Plymouth, there in what is today Massachusetts. And so, of course, these people came over for the purposes of religious freedom. And so we also see the beginnings of America and being a beacon of hope for the world to see, as they talked about. And so we see America expressing its religious identity through the Plymouth Plantation and those settlers who settled there. So we see both early on in our country's history. So 1607, 1620. So and then, of course, even later on throughout the colonial era as well, even leading all the way down to Georgia, with Savannah, of course, being started there. James Oglethorpe founding, of course, Georgia, of course, being colonized there by the British. The last colony, the last British colony, of course, being part of the 13, of course. So I like it all.
You've been to the Jamestown area up north near Washington,
DC? I have, yeah. I've been there. They got a cannon up there that they shoot off, and it's, if you think about Jamestown, being named after King James, same King James that the King James version of the Bible is named after. The James River, there's a fort up there, and of course it's just really so close to William and Mary College. William and Mary, of course, being joint kings and queens there of Great Britain there after the Glorious Revolution. And, of course, just roughly 30 miles, if I'm not mistaken, from Washington, D.C. itself. So going there, it's just, when you see those places, things that you read about in books and you've heard about, and then going there, it makes it all come true. It's just more true and more real. Not that it is more true. I mean, the truth is
it's a lot different. Like, you have a different perspective on it than
very much
what
so.
You've heard.
And the value of going out and seeing places. So I encourage people to travel as much as they can. I remember reading as a young child, I would read stories about people going on adventures. And I always liked that as a young child, and I always wanted to go on large trips and seeing different things and having experiencing different cultures. Now, that doesn't mean that I think that some are better or worse than others. I just want to see the differences.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's valuable to experience that, especially as a social studies teacher, So I appreciate going to those places and trying to learn from others, and also not just for the purposes of learning from others, but also to see how maybe our culture, to identify the strengths of our culture, but also to see if there's things that we could work on to improve. So
yeah.
Some folks, they get wrapped up into criticizing too much of our own culture, and there's room for criticism, of course, but you need to have that healthy balance of and how to evaluate the good things of our culture and also the things where we could improve upon. That's the reason I tell my students all the time about the picture of Harriet Tubman that I look at every single day. Every single day I look at a picture of Harriet Tubman that I have in my office over my door. There was a class from UTC called Heroes and Villains. And one of the things that we learned from that class was that the ideal that over time we look at events in history. There's times we look at events or people in a positive light and sometimes in a negative light. And so, and thus the class Heroes and Villains. The same person, the same things they're doing, sometimes they're perceived as being what was good, sometimes not so good. And so what we got to look at today is try to be honest evaluators of looking through time and seeing if what we're doing is going to stand up to the test of time, and will what we're doing today still yet stand up to be a correct thing to do. And so I always want to be evaluating what we're currently doing and seeing if it is going to be okay 50, 100, 200 years from now, or if it's something we need to correct.
Oh, you said we were talking about criticism and the healthy balance. Do you think that where we're at now, we're at an unhealthy balance of criticism for our own culture and country?
What's a real good question, Leland. I like to always question what we're doing, but then at the end of the day, the conclusion, I mean, I'm making the assumption, I hope it's to be true, that most of the things in our culture is correct and proper and for good reasons. It's not like we just came here yesterday. It's not like we just started our culture, last night. And hopefully we've worked through some of the problems that our culture has presented. So always evaluate, but I think there are some things that needs work on. And as a social studies teacher, I want to present to my students to have that questioning spirit. But I got to be careful about that, because we don't want to think that there's always that we don't become a cynic. A cynic is a person who thinks that everything in our society is corrupt and wrong, and that's just not the case at all. There's lots of things that we do. As Coach Smith across the hall from me tells me, don't forget, we are the World War champs 1 and 2 for good reasons. We helped beat back the Nazis and the fascists of WW2. We made the world safe for democracy from World War I. And so there's lots of, we're the arsenal of democracy, as they said. So I am overwhelmingly convinced that our country's overwhelming position throughout the world has been good, that we are a country for good. And we need to be proud of that.
Yeah.
And I'm very much so. And with all that in mind, that does not mean that we're perfect. And so it's the constant fight to seek perfection, realizing that we're never going to make it. But just because we're never going to make it doesn't mean we should still seek for it.
Yeah.
So there's that balance and seeking it, even though you still know you're never going to make it. Because we're humans. And humans they've got their things, they got their qualities about them that's fantastic. But we also have our qualities that make us a little selfish sometimes as well. So we need a balance.
I agree with you on that. Because we were almost, sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off or anything. We're almost out of time here. I want to ask you one more thing.
Okay.
And this is for the audience, because this is our last episode, and you've been a dream guest to have on here.
All right.
I want to hear the best piece of advice you could give to the people watching.
Oh, wow. Well, best piece of advice. I used to jokingly say, walk slow and drink plenty of water, but obviously that's just a silly thing to say. I'm a silly person on many issues, but in some issues I'm very serious. I think to be honest to oneself is so critical. To be kind to one another, to be respectful to everybody, to constantly seek the truth, to not be afraid of who we are, not be afraid of our fallacies, but also not to be afraid of our strengths either. To accept who we are and constantly try to be the best version of ourselves that we can be. And so I've heard that phrase a lot within the last few years, to try to be the best version of we can be. And then be willing to accept that as humans, we are innately flawed, and to give ourselves some grace to accept our fallacies as humans, but at the same time constantly seeking to be the better versions of ourselves. Treat each other with respect all the time. Love our fellow man. And if we do those things, I think we'll end up in a favorable light.
We give a round of applause.
Yeah. Thank you,
Jenkins, thank you so much. I'm glad to have you on here. Thank you so much for being on here.
Leland, it's a privilege of mine. I've known you for 4 years now, and you've been a blessing for me. And I hope that you've been a blessing to my life, and I hope I've been somehow a blessing to yours. And I think that's one of the things of what we try to do with each other is share our lives and be a blessing to each other, and see if we can help each other be the best version of ourselves that we can be.
I couldn't have said it any better.
Thank you, Leland.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jenkins. We're glad to have you on here.
It's been my honor.
Thank you guys so much for watching the series finale of the Tiger Toes podcast. It's been an honor doing this for the last few years. Thank you guys so much. And, well, man, I was going to say we'll see you next time, but thank you guys for everything, and farewell.